Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Draw Control podcast. On today's episode, I am joined by former Canisius and Maryland women's lacrosse player Erica Evans. Erica has accomplished many things during her lacrosse career. She won a national championship with Maryland back in 2019, won a gold medal with Team Canada in the U19 World Cup. She was a MAAC Midfielder of the Year and MAAC Rookie of the Year as well, and she is Canisius' all-time leading goal scorer with 186 goals and was on the 2019 All Big Ten team. Erica, it's an honor getting the chance to talk with you today. And how's everything going?
I'm good. Done the school year, which is nice. I'm a teacher, so summer's finally started, which is exciting. So ready for some lacrosse this summer.
That's awesome. How has your summer been going so far? And do you have anything fun planned, whether it's lacrosse related or not?
Yeah, I have a little bit of coaching. I coach a girls box team in where I live, and then I've also been playing some box lacrosse myself. So on a women's team, so having that opportunity this summer to play, which I'm excited about.
So I'm a newer fan of the sport, so I got to ask, what's the difference between box lacrosse and regular lacrosse?
Um, So it's a lot different, especially between the girls game in box. Box lacrosse is played in a hockey rink. You wear full equipment. I have shoulder pads, kidney pads, elbow pads, helmet on, gloves on. You use a deeper pocket, like a men's pocket, basically. You can hit and all that sort of stuff. There's a 30-second shot clock, so it's really, really quick. But it's a lot of fun. Where the field game is more, obviously, you have more space in women's field. You have a shallower pocket. You don't have to wear all the equipment. The physicality of the game isn't really part of it. It's more like skill based in a sense. So they're very different, but they're both really fun to play. So I enjoy having the opportunity to play both. And I feel like each game kind of gives me something that I can take into the other one, which is pretty neat.
What are some things that you take away from your box lacrosse sort of playing, and how do you translate that to the field game?
Yeah, I definitely like the physicality. Like I can take a lot of pressure and I can handle that pressure kind of thing. And so I feel like that's from my box game. That's the reason I can do that in field. And then shooting, I think I would say I'm a pretty good shooter. The box in box you have a way smaller net and a larger goalie, so goalies wear all this equipment on and they're pretty big, where in field you have a larger net and a smaller goalie, so it's like complete opposite. So I would say like it helped me with like picking corners and shot placement and stuff like that, because you have to be a little bit more selective and when it comes to the box game, just because you only have tight window of space to actually shoot the ball.
Well, since graduating college, you are now currently the head women's lacrosse coach for a school named Trent. So I want to ask you, the experience been like being a coach and seeing the game in a different way?
Yeah, I started in 2019 after my college last year of college, and it's been pretty neat. Like I tore my ACL my senior year of college, and so I kind of got like a little bit of a started coaching, and I've coached like minor leagues growing up. But kind of at that level, it's so awesome to see like how much the players develop over the season, and just being able to work with some awesome young women who are role models within the community, and seeing kind of like the other side of the ball, like understanding what goes into the thought process of who is where, what we do, like how we play defense, like that sort of thing has been pretty neat. And I think it's also helped me kind of grow my game a little bit more when I step on the field as well. And I'm able to take kind of more of like a coaching role when I'm actually playing on the field. So I think it's kind of allowed me to see more of the field in a sense than before, where as a player, I feel like I was very kind of, I wouldn't say closed-minded, but very like blindsided or blinded with the way how things are. So seeing the other side of it and how much work goes into everything is pretty cool.
Now, I want to transition and talk about the beginning of your lacrosse career and sort of work all the way up to where you are today. So you're from Peterborough, Ontario, in Canada. Talk about growing up there and how did you start playing lacrosse?
Yeah, it's a very big lacrosse community. We have a MSL team, so it's a major series lacrosse. It's a summer league for men's, and we are very have a very big fan base. Most games we get about 3,000 people out, which is really awesome, and the community just comes together for it. And and from our minor programs all the way up to that level, like there's just so much support and so many kids involved and parents and everything like that. So we're very much a lacrosse community. And so obviously like my family is really big in lacrosse. I have two cousins that play in the NLL, and I've had uncles that have played professionally growing up and played on the Lakers growing up as well. And so I feel like that background kind of guided me into lacrosse. So I started playing box lacrosse. I never heard of field lacrosse until I was probably in middle school or upper elementary school. So I started playing box when I was 4 years old with like a house league boys. Played that for a year or two, and then I actually quit to just because I don't even know why. I think I got really mad because a kid hit me from behind, and I kind of retaliated, and I was told I can't do that. So I decided I'm like, okay, this isn't the sport for me, and quit and started playing soccer. And then I went to lacrosse, the Lakers games in Peterborough, watching my cousins. I had at that time, I think I had three cousins on the team, and I was kind of like, okay, I want to get back into this sport. So it kind of drew me back into it and started playing on a girls box lacrosse team around the age of probably 8 or 9. And then kept playing box until I found out about field, and then I started playing both throughout the summer until I went to college.
Now, who was like your favorite lacrosse players to watch growing up?
Definitely my cousins. I feel like I get my like edge the way that they play. They play with like a lot of like grit. They're very aggressive. They go hard to the net. But they're also very like selfless as well. And I feel like I like to watch how they play and what they emulate on the field or the floor. They're both like there's so many of them that I think about it. They all kind of have different styles of play, and I've tried to like incorporate all those things into my game. Um, Definitely Sean Evans. He's had a really amazing career. He's definitely probably the one that I look up to the most. And he's also guided me and helped me out a lot. And now I coach his daughter in lacrosse. So it's kind of like full circle, which is pretty cool.
Now, before college, you played for the St. Peter Secondary School. Talk about your lacrosse experience there and what you take away from it.
Yeah, high school lacrosse is definitely a lot different up here than it is in the States. I feel like it's a lot more emphasized, but it's obviously really cool. I got to play with some girls that never really played lacrosse before, and it was neat to like guide them and show them how amazing this sport is, and a lot of them really enjoyed it. Um, Definitely just like I don't know, that was kind of like my first kind of starting of like my coaching experience because like I said, like I was teaching a lot of girls how to play, how to cradle. There was girls running up the field that they had their sticks like flat and they're just like basically just moving it back and forth. But it was a lot of fun, and we won two bronze medals, which was pretty neat. And um, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely a cool experience, like I said.
What's like the best memory you have from St. Peter's?
Definitely, I think it was a bronze medal game. I think we were playing Holy Cross, which is another school in Peterborough, and they had like a lot of strong lacrosse players on their team. And I think it was my last year of high school, and um, we had a couple lacrosse players, not as many as Holy Cross did, and we just had an amazing game, and we all kind of came together and played a complete game and came out with that medal, which was pretty awesome. We were the underdogs definitely in that game, so I think that's a memorable experience for me, especially in my last year with them as well.
Now, how did your experience with St. Peter's lacrosse help prepare you for your college lacrosse days with Canisius and then eventually with Maryland, your fifth year?
Um, Definitely was very helpful. It got me in really good shape for sure. As I was kind of more of like a big role player on the team. Like I carried the ball up the field and was the one making a lot of plays. So I feel like it kind of allowed me to build confidence going into my college game, knowing um, that I'm a reliable player on the field and that they can look to me and have me support and help the ball up the field and finish when I needed to. So definitely helped build my confidence for sure.
Now, you also represent your country in various tournaments, including winning a gold medal in the U19 World Championship back in 2015. What's it like getting the chance to represent your country and talk about winning a gold medal for Canada and putting on the maple leaf?
Yeah, I always thought I was going to play Team Canada hockey growing up, just because I feel like that's just a big thing up here. The first time I ever saw Team Canada women's lacrosse was actually at Trent University. It was 2009 U19 World Championships, and I thought that was pretty neat. And that's when I was kind of starting around the age where I was like, okay, like what sport is my sport? Like everybody has like their niche and their go-to sport, and I was kind of in between hockey and lacrosse. Um, and when I saw that, I feel like that kind of triggered me into being like, okay, I think lacrosse is my sport. Knowing that I had the opportunity to go to college and play for Team Canada. So after that, my goal was to play on the U19 team. And the first time I tried out was for the 2011 team, and I got cut. I was only 13 years old. So I was very young at the time and still kind of developing my game. So that was kind of like an eye-opening experience too. So, and I knew I had the next opportunity to try out. So I tried out for the 2015 one, and I made the team, and we had a really strong group of girls going into that tournament. And everybody just kind of came together and just knew that we could do it. And obviously, like I said, I always thought I was going to play Team Canada hockey, but lacrosse obviously is an amazing opportunity. And just putting that maple leaf is just an honor. And I feel like every time that I get to do it, it's kind of more and more special. Just as I get older and my time on the floor on the field is more minimal than it has been. But all in all, like it's such an amazing experience, and I'm so grateful every time that I get to do it. And the first time I think was probably my most memorable because I was like, I finally did it. It was kind of like a weight off my shoulders. Just being like, wow, like I'm here, I'm with this group of girls, and I'm representing my country and making all like my teammates proud and my family and my community proud, which was really special. And then coming out with that gold medal, it was that game was crazy. It was like 5 seasons in one or 4 seasons in one game. It like snowed, it hailed, it rained, it was sunny, it was crazy. And coming out with that win and having that, it was the very first like women's Canada lacrosse gold medal ever, um, was amazing. And it still gives me goosebumps. And I know like my parents were there and my grandparents and some family. And like it was such a special moment for all of us. Cause again, it's like we've done it. We've worked so hard my whole life trying to get to this moment, for like the young girls and myself as a little girl, like being like, wow, this is just incredible. So definitely something I remember forever, and just a special moment in my life for sure.
Where do you keep the medal today?
I have like a shadow box in my parents' basement. So it has like my jersey, my medal, and then like the mesh
Nice.
as well. Yeah. So eventually when I have my own house, I will um take that with me. So it'll be kind of a bare basement, but yeah.
Who are some like other like well-known women's lacrosse players that are from Canada?
Dana Dobie is one that I think of right away. She's had a large impact on women's lacrosse in general. She went to Maryland as well and has played in, I don't even know, 4 or 5 World Cups now. Like, and she still keeps going, which is like amazing. And she's just so skillful. Then there's like Selena Lasota. She went to Northwestern. Um, Lydia Sutton, she went to USC. Megan Kenoat, she went to Northwestern. I feel like there's so many more that I could probably name as well. And I feel like the next generation, there's just so much more talent coming through like the pipeline, which is awesome for the sport, especially in Canada. So it's really exciting. And I feel like there's going to be a lot of Canadian names coming up that people are going to know in the lacrosse community.
Now, talk about your recruiting process with Canisius and what made you want to go there versus other schools you were looking at that time.
I had very little recruitment, to be honest. I did like maybe like 3 tournaments in the States, and I got some offer, like reach outs, but no offers. And I think Teeter came up to watch another player in a box lacrosse tournament, and I was playing in that, and he saw me and he reached out to my coaches. And then kind of from there, it kind of just snowballed. Obviously, it's really close to home, which was super nice. I'm very close to my family, so it was awesome for them to come down and watch multiple games. and I wanted to be a teacher, and they have a really awesome teaching program, especially now that I live back in Ontario. New York State is and Ontario do a really good job of kind of being going back and forth. So it was an easy, smooth process, like transitioning into the Ontario education system. And then Coach Teeter, just as a Canadian coach and as the head coach of Team Canada as well, like that connection was something that like I cherish. So there's so many factors, and then just being on the campus and knowing that I was probably going to be a starter or playing a lot, and kind of building that program. So I thought that was kind of something that was enticing as well.
What was like the biggest adjustment you had to make to college lacrosse when you were with Canisius?
It's definitely a lot faster pace, so just kind of getting used to that. I think my freshman year, I was just kind of going through the motions a lot, and I had a decent season, and I worked hard, and that was kind of like my season that I kind of got my feet kind of wet. And then after that I had my first World Cup, and then I came back and I just felt like kind of more confident in my abilities and where I stood on the field kind of thing. But definitely it's a lot faster pace than I was expecting.
Now you got to play in the MAAC. What's it like playing in that conference and just the competition that you faced every game when you were with Canisius?
Yeah, it's a really good conference. It's kind of a mid-major program, so it's not at the highest of the conferences, but it is a strong competitive conference. There, like a lot of the teams, like Fairfield and Marist, we always battled against them in Monmouth. Um, Definitely, like I said, the fast pace, and there's so many talented players that were in that conference as well, and they helped me kind of build the player that I am too. Like I don't think I would be where I am without where I played. So definitely, it is a competitive conference that was something that was challenging for our team, but definitely a lot of fun to play against some of the talent that was there.
Now, during your freshman year, your team lost in the MAAC Championship game. What'd you learn from that loss that helped you and your team moving forward?
I think it just kind of helped us realize that like we can't just go through the motions kind of thing. Like we had a talented group, and I felt like sometimes we kind of took that for granted. So I think the year after we just learned that no matter what, yes, we're talented, but we need to be the hardest working team on the field. And definitely my June or my sophomore's junior year, that was evident. We had a really strong core group, and a strong like leadership group as well, and we kind of just hunkered down and got stuff done and worked hard all season. Like our goal is to win that MAC championship and hopefully move on in the NCAA tournament. So obviously we have to get there through our championship. So we always strive for that. And we had a lot of competitors on our team, which was awesome. But definitely it kind of just kind of made us realize that like talent doesn't win games. It's the hard work that you put into it.
Now, your team finally did win your first MAAC championship, beating Monmouth. What was it like winning the MAAC championship that season, and just what did it mean to you personally?
Definitely, I know like for a lot of girls on our team, like some of them never won a championship in their life before, so it was really special for them and for me, just like obviously you put in so much work throughout the season, and obviously that's what our goal is every year, and to accomplish that, like I said, kind of gives that little weight off your shoulders, like the hard work that you put in and day out was a success. And then I kind of felt like you were able to breathe a little bit, but it was so exciting, and I especially after the year before not winning, it was definitely something that we were gunning for, and it's always fun winning with your best friends and hoisting that trophy. So it was a lot of fun, and something I'm going to remember for the rest of my life, like I said, with my best friends doing what we love on the field. So it was pretty special.
Now, you played Cornell in your first ever NCAA tournament game. What'd you take away from that game? And against Cornell, obviously it didn't go your way, but I feel like it was sort of like your first MAC championship game you played. You probably learned a lot from that, and it probably helped you moving forward.
Yeah, it definitely was a really cool experience. There was a lot of people at that game, and Cornell is a beautiful campus. And they had a really strong team that year, and we competed with them, which was really awesome. Um, it was a very close game from the start. And again, obviously didn't go the way we planned, but it kind of was something that we learned from going forward, and kind of helped us elevate our game in the year after for sure.
Now, throughout your 3 years with Canisius, what would you say was the biggest improvement you made to your game?
Um, I I think my confidence was like the biggest thing. I know going into college, like I did have a little bit of confidence, but um, just knowing that like I'm a strong player, I can go to net when I want to, like I can be strong on defense, and I grew my defensive game for sure. I feel like my first year, like that was something that I lacked in. I know how to score goals, but defense was I wanted to be an all-rounded midfielder. That was my goal. And I feel like coming out of college, I gained that experience and I gained that skill for sure. Building my physicality on defense and smart plays and timing and things like that for sure.
Yeah, and obviously confidence is an interesting thing because I feel like it's so easy to lose confidence. Like a single play, you can lose your entire confidence, but it's so hard to gain confidence. Like it can take like 5 or 6 games for that to happen. So how'd you sort of work on that during your career?
I think it helps with having your teammates and the people around you, like your coaches, just believing in your abilities. And anytime that I would talk with my coach, he always had faith in me and believed in everything that I did. Um, so that's always something that's kind of stuck with me. And I've been lucky to have some amazing coaches in my career that have supported me. And obviously, I have amazing parents that have been there through thick and thin, and their confidence in me and kind of being my coaches behind the scenes too. Like my dad has a really great lacrosse background, and he's so knowledgeable, and my mom's just a big, huge supporter. And obviously, she's supported me through everything, and so has my dad. And so just having that kind of like group around you that kind of helps build your confidence, and they know what you can do, and helps kind of make me realize that I have the ability to be who I am and be successful on the field.
Now, during your senior year, you had to redshirt due to a torn ACL. How did this injury occur, and how did you sort of handle the adversity of not playing, but trying to recover and get back on the field?
Um, so it happened in a fall ball tournament in Maryland at Loyola. It was like our second or first game, and I was kind of like running down the field, and I went to dodge a girl, and I heard a pop, and I kind of just fell to the ground. And then got an MRI like a couple days later, and found out like I tore my ACL and part of my meniscus. It was definitely tough. I feel like that was the first year in my life since I was probably like 7 or 8 that I have not played lacrosse. So it was kind of a weird adjustment. Also, in my college career, being a starter every year and being on the field and being a part of that was tough. But it kind of helped me realize, like I said, touched on like the coaching earlier, like it helped me realize the bigger aspect of the game and those little things, and kind of helped me be a better teammate too. I feel like I was so supportive and so excited for everybody's little accomplishments that they had, and that was pretty cool for me. And yeah, while I was going through something tough, I was obviously wanted to be there for my teammates that were on the field and playing, and hoping the best for them, obviously. And then just through like recovery and stuff, like obviously my goal was to get back on the field, and that motivation really helped me to work hard and take the time. Because I think at first I was just like, I just want to get through this as quick as possible. But a lot of people helped me realize that you got to take your time and make sure that you recover well and properly, and everybody goes at their own pace and their own journey. It's just in the end result, like just coming back, your ability to be able to come back on the field is going to be the biggest accomplishment out of it all for sure.
Now, since you redshirted, you got an extra year of eligibility and then decided to go to Maryland. How does the transfer process work, and why did you decide to go to Maryland? Because I feel like it was a lot harder to transfer when you were in college than it is now.
Oh yeah, 100%. There was no like portal. So I had to, so when it happened, I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Am I gonna stay here, or am I just gonna graduate and be done? And I had a lot of people reach out to me and being like, what are your plans for next year? And I'm like, I don't really know. So they were kind of like, I had a couple Team Canada teammates tell me like you should look into going somewhere else, which I kind of thought about, and a lot of my friends were graduating anyway, so it would have been weird. I had a lot of friends in my undergrad as well, and like the lower grades as well, but just like my core group of friends were going to be gone, so that was going to be tough. And then I kind of sat down with my parents and we kind of made a list of schools that I was thinking about. So Louisville was one of them because that's where Coach Teeter, who is my coach at Canisius, he moved to that school that same year in the fall. And then I had Syracuse because Gary Gate was one of my Team Canada coaches when he was on the women's side. Um, and then I was looking at Maryland because one of my Team Canada teammates said that would be a good, she felt that would be a good fit. And Kathy was asking about me, which was pretty cool. And then UNC was my fourth one. So I had to personally reach out to each of these schools on my own and just say I was interested in transferring and I would be a grad student. Some schools can't take grad students, so I had to make sure that they were eligible to do that. And then Maryland was literally like, I'm not even kidding, like the next day, Maryland was like reached out to me. They're like, we really want you to come visit. So we set up a visit and Kathy would message me every day being like, we really want you to come here. And she would just talk about the school and the community that they have and the team and the family aspect that they had. So then I went down and visited and literally automatically I was just like, this is where I want to be. It just felt like I was comfortable. The girls were great. The coaching staff was great. The campus was beautiful. And obviously, we know the history of Maryland lacrosse and how many amazing players and championships that they've won there is crazy. So I was like, I can't pass up this opportunity. And I kind of took in that like consideration, like who was going to be there, what players, like the whole aspect of that as well. Because obviously there was some really awesome teams throughout the country, but that one just felt like the best fit. They had a really strong group coming back, so I thought it was my best opportunity to win a national championship.
At what point during the year did you know your team was capable of it? Probably very early on, based on the games I was like when I was doing the research for from your team that year.
Yeah, well, the year before they lost to Boston College in the semis of the Final Four. So I feel like a lot of them, especially the upperclassmen, were very like, just that was not Maryland lacrosse. They were like, we need to get back to where we were. And just from the very get-go, like fall ball, the first day of school, like it was evident within the group that like this is gonna be our year. We had our ups and downs for the season, and it would like any team would. But I think as a collective group, like just the amount of like competitiveness and tenacity and amazing talent that we had, like you just knew that there's something special for sure.
Now, when you were with Maryland, your team was one of the top ranked teams in the country, only losing one game. So how did your team sort of handle the pressure of being one of the top ranked teams in the country, but also how did your team sort of maintain that consistency throughout the regular season?
I think with Maryland, it's just kind of part of the program in itself. Like you're always going to be a top team in the country. So for a lot of them, um, they're just used to it. But I think the coaching staff does a really, really good job of just kind of keeping everybody humble, keeping everybody kind of aware of what our goals are, and making sure that like we're focused on ourselves. We really focus um, on what Maryland lacrosse is and what we can do as a team, and not so much about the stuff outside of our kind of group. So I think the coaching staff does an amazing job of making sure that the players focus on what is best for Maryland lacrosse and what we can do as a group, and not so much on about the outside kind of talk or the things that could distract us. But I think also the group, like I said, a lot of them have been in that position before. That senior group already won a national championship. They knew what it took and takes. So we just had a strong leadership group that really kind of brought everybody together and made sure that we knew what we're capable of and what we need to do to make sure that we got back on top.
Now, what's it like playing in the Big Ten and just the competition you have every game? Because I think it's one of the best conferences in women's college lacrosse. I think it was evident this past season with Northwestern winning it, and obviously the success that you have had at Maryland. So, what's it like sort of being a part of the Big Ten and just playing those teams every game?
Yeah, like Kathy and Kenneth and Caitlin put together like a really strong schedule each year. And obviously the Big Ten's already is a strong conference, and I feel like a lot of the teams that are in it are still kind of getting better and better each year. But definitely just like every game was a battle. Every game you don't know. Like I feel like sometimes when I was in the MAAC, like you kind of knew going in, like this team you're just gonna maybe roll over. But I feel like in the Big Ten, it's whoever shows up that day, and you really had to be in that mindset and ready to go and ready to just take the field and give it your all that day. So definitely a different experience in the MAAC. There was just a lot of strong and amazing players, and a lot of them were on my team, which was really nice as well. And um, I got us definitely ready for the playoff push for sure. I think playing that such a competitive schedule really makes you ready for that come May, when it's like time to really dig in and get things done.
Now, your only loss of the season came to Northwestern in the Big Ten championship game. After that loss, what was your team's sort of mindset heading into the national tournament?
I remember Kathy saying like this was definitely needed. Like the loss was definitely something that we needed. I think going before that, obviously being undefeated, I think that also kind of mentally does get to you sometimes because obviously you want to have that undefeated season, which can be really tough to do. So I think after that loss, we kind of as a group collectively, and as our coaching staff, collectively, we're just like, this was needed. It's all new now. That's in our past. We learned from our mistakes. We knew what things that we needed to clean up on that we kind of got away with in the regular season that we didn't get away with in that game. And so we had to make sure that we clean those up going into playoffs so that we could, obviously, it was do or die. You lose, you're out. So it taught us what we needed to clean up on for sure. And we emphasized those in practice, and those were our goals each game, was to make sure we clean up those things like turnovers and shot placement and stuff like that. And I feel like in that game we got behind on them and we couldn't catch up. And they had a really strong team that year, as Northwestern always does. But I think we just didn't play our game, and again we had to focus on ourselves and what we needed to work on. So
Now, your team did not have an easy road to the national championship, having to beat four top 20 opponents, including Boston College in the national championship game, who was ranked second at that time. What was the key for your team's success in the tournament playing against those top teams?
um, I think again we just focus on ourselves. We focus on what Maryland lacrosse is and what we can accomplish. And I thought that's something that really stood out to me like throughout that season. It's amazing how much when you focus on your strengths and you focus on the group that you have in front of you, how that can be so beneficial. Like I feel like sometimes when you focus on the other team, you overthink things, you overdo things on the field, and when you focus on what you can do and how you can be successful, it's really something that's amazing. And that's what we always try to strive for each game, is just focus on what we can do and what Maryland lacrosse is. And we we played our game strong, and especially in that game, that's a really tough game. It was hot out. Boston College had an amazing team, and you can see it defensively. We had probably our best game of the season. We just played as a collective group and really shut down a talented offense, and that just comes from our group, our leadership group, our coaches, just believing in ourselves and what we can do on the field for sure.
Now, it's been 4 years, but obviously you have had a lot of time to reflect on it. But describe to me what it's like winning a national championship and sort of what goes through your mind.
Um, Definitely something that's tough to do. Not many people get the opportunity to one play in that game, but two to actually win. And especially for me, for somebody that was coming off of injury, transferring to a new team, learning new defense and offense, and learning how to play with new players. It was a challenge, but um, something that I'm gonna remember, and is something that's so special. I just remember like when I tore my ACL, somebody was like, "It's like a blessing in disguise." I wouldn't have had the opportunity to transfer and be able to compete for that national championship if I didn't. So it definitely is something that I will cherish, and something that like pushes me in my everyday kind of life too, like knowing like what had to put myself through and what I had to go through to get to that point. Like is something that like has taught me a lot about who I am as a person too. So definitely something I will cherish for the rest of my life and look back on and smile about for sure.
Do you have a ring for it, and where do you keep it?
Yeah, I do have a ring, which was really cool. And then we got to go to the White House as well, which was pretty neat.
Nice.
Um, but it is on my mantle in my living room.
And do you ever go back to Maryland just to see the trophy? I'm assuming it's somewhere in the facility.
Yeah, I haven't been back actually in a very long time because of COVID and with work and stuff. But we all got everybody gets like a miniature version of the big
Okay,
trophy, so I have that with my ring on my mantle as well.
that's awesome. Well,
Yeah.
what will you take away from your college lacrosse experience when you look back on it now?
Something that went by really, really fast. You get there your freshman year and you're just like, oh, I have 4 years of this, like all the hard practices and stuff like that. But looking back on it, it's just like the memories I've made with friends. I met so many amazing people. I got an education out of it, which is something that is awesome. And not a lot of people get to do. And get to play the sport that I love every day, day in and day out. And during the time when I was there, some days I would be like, why am I here? But now looking back at it is something that I miss dearly. Like I miss being able to play and be around my friends every day and playing the sport that we love. And it's something that I will look back on and cherish and just I tell all my kids that I coach and just like be present in the moment because it goes by really, really quickly. And I feel like I never realized that until afterwards. But it just, there's so many special moments that I've had on the field, off the field, and definitely is a big part of my kind of life for sure, even though it's a very small stint. It's something that, again, has taught me so much and that I'm able to take into my daily life as well, the skills that I learned from that too.